What is up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about Elizabeth Bathory. It all goes back to her parents being first cousins. This can only go downhill from here. From the very beginning, Liz was born into nobility of the Hungarian kingdom. And with her parents being a couple of such high stature, they were able to provide her with the finest education they could find. She was able to learn Latin, Slavic, Greek, and German at a very young age. But this also had its downside. Since Liz's parents were related to each other, it suggested that they were the ones that contributed to her having health problems. She suffered from chronic episodes of seizures due to her having epilepsy. But that's not all. As a child, Liz saw some pretty gruesome things in her days. She would watch servants get beaten repeatedly, and she even witnessed a man getting sewn inside of a horse alive for breaking the law. The strange part about this is that she found nothing wrong with it. The average child would be taken aback by these horrible events, but Liz, she enjoyed them. By 10, she had got engaged to the 15-year-old Hungarian Count, Ferenc Nadasdy. And since it was part of the tradition, she proceeded to move into the household of her future husband. Here is where she gained knowledge from her mother-in-law on how to control the lands that were around her. It was at this same time that Elizabeth was said to have had an affair with the local peasant. Yes, the precious Liz that we all have come to know and love was out here giving up the booty as a preteen. I might have to douse my ears in holy water. I can't believe what I'm hearing. And it doesn't just stop there. Turns out, this little dude ended up knocking Liz up and getting her pregnant. Now Liz is out here with a baby from a whole nother man. She doesn't want to ruin what she has going on with her fiance. So instead of taking care of this child, she just gave it away to somebody else. She handed that baby off like she was trying to score a 2-point conversion, my guy. Word gets back to her fiance, and while he didn't scold Liz for being the one that gave it up, he had the boy castrated and eaten alive by wild dogs. All of this is allegedly, by the way. Very detailed story, allegedly. Anyway, Liz turns 14, has this huge wedding with nearly 5,000 people, and the festivities lasted for about 3 days. Towards the end of this celebration, Liz's husband decided to give her her own castle as a wedding gift. Oh, you ballin'. And out of all the castles in the Hungarian kingdom, the fortress that he gave her was said to be the gloomiest castle of the bunch. Now, with Liz and Ferenc both being big shot callers from noble backgrounds, they were viewed as one of the most powerful couples of their time. At first, she spent the former years of her marriage protecting their estate, while her husband was out in the field doing battle against the Ottomans. The war carries on, and the country's economy started to plummet due to all the resources that was being put into it. This didn't make a difference to Liz at all. In fact, Liz was so wealthy that she was unbothered by anything that other people had going on. Everybody else is out here struggling, and she's sitting up here with her legs crossed, chilling. Literally wipes her ass with money. She's like Type Moon in a way. And it got so bad that she actually donated money to the Hungarian Empire just so they could keep the country alive. She would also use part of these funds to house and feed some of the villagers nearby when they fell on hard times, which is always. Now, with her husband being out in all these battles, the two of them didn't really get the opportunity to spend that much time together. And when they did spend time together, it was through some pretty insane interests. Now, what could I possibly mean when I say insane? Well, apparently Ferenc liked to involve himself in acts of sadism. Keep in mind that Liz is still super young. Very impressionable mind that we're talking about here. Clearly, she wouldn't think that her husband is trying to steer her in the wrong direction. so she listens to him. Majority of the time that they spent together ended up turning into Liz torturing her servants by sticking pieces of oiled paper between their toes and lighting them on fire. This dude even gave Liz a claw glove to scratch up the face of her servants if they ever disobeyed her or tried to get out of line. What you say to me, bitch? Bow! If the violence of seeing servants beaten as a child wasn't enough to make her go insane, then her husband surely was the one that set things in stone. Couple of years down the road, and the two of them decide to take in a new guest. Her name was Anna, and it's often speculated that this Anna was a witch. Similar to Liz and her husband, Anna was also a loosey-goose. But Anna didn't just like to torture her victims. Oh no, that's just simply not enough. What she enjoyed to do the most was kill them. So after the time that Anna entered the house, Liz started to get rid of her servants by killing them instead. Worst part about it is that her servants were just common village girls. So when they died, nobody cared. And if somebody did try to make a big deal about it, Liz was too powerful. What you gonna do? Take me down? Effortlessly, she would just sweep the entire investigation under the rug. This didn't, however, stop Liz from building a horrible reputation among her people. Eventually, Farrant became paralyzed and ended up passing away a few years later due to contracting an illness. This separation left Liz in a maniacal state. She began to torture even more servants than she was before, destroying their bodies until she got her fill and then tossing them over the walls to be eaten by wolves whenever she was done. Anna, along with other women that she rounded up, turned into a secret group that made it easier for Liz to do her dirty work. If a servant were to make a mistake as simple as missing a stitch while they were sewing, then the punishment was simple. We're just gonna sew you instead, puncturing you with needles multiple times. I bet you won't miss any more. She would then go on to mock these people by saying, well, if it hurts the whore, then she can pull the needle out. And when they pulled the needle out, she would chop off the finger that they used to remove it from their body. You can't win for losing. These are the things that happen to you if you were lucky. Worst case scenario, you'd be dragged off to the torture chamber, where her secret group would rip the flesh off your body and force you to eat it or eat the flesh of someone else. Then you had parents who would willingly sell off their own children to make some quick cash. And guess who they went to? Is little Timmy getting on your nerves? Just bring him down here to Liz and we'll put him in a blender for a small price. Eventually, Liz's friend Anna passed away due to having a stroke. All of Liz's children had grown up and left the house, and her finances were starting to take a nosedive. This is where her state of being deranged reached its final limit. Convinced by her own steward, Liz decided to open up a school for young ladies of noble status. She would then take the fees that they used to get into the school and replenish her own funds that she lost over the years. The hustle is real, and I'm sure you can guess what happens next. She started to kill their daughters as well. Now, with the daughters of nobles going missing, Liz couldn't play the same games that she was playing when it was people of low status. They were on her ass. Right off the bat, parents started to report these incidents to King Matthias II. The king took note of this, and he sent out one of his main officials, Thurzo, to be the guy on the case. And it just so happens that Thurzo was not only Liz's cousin, but he was also someone who was cool with her late husband. So he interviews several people, and after hearing them claim that they could literally hear the screams of the girls being tortured from the castle, Thurzo came to the conclusion that she had to be guilty. All he needed now was the proof. He contacts her relatives and told them, "You know what, guys? We're not even gonna do a trial. When we find enough dirt, we're taking her straight to jail. That way we can spare our family any more public humiliation than we've already gotten." So for their last bit of evidence, Thurzo and the king invited themselves over to Elizabeth's castle for a peaceful and non-life-threatening dinner. Naturally, Liz wasn't in a position where she could decline. Shortly after, one of their men ended up getting sick from eating Liz's food. That, or he was doing a really good job at making her look bad. Either way, Thurzo was convinced that she tried to have this man poisoned and made his return to the castle with armed guards to finish his work. The king and Thurzo pulled back up to the castle, but this time they noticed that Liz's steward was outside casting death spells on Thurzo's name. They could literally hear girls screaming for their lives from the chamber. They even saw the leftover remains of one of the victims right there in front of the doorway. You know it's over for Liz now. Thurzo threw the cuffs on Liz immediately and locked her in her own dungeon. And even while Liz was caught red-handed, she still tried to push all the blame on her servants. Over 300 people testified on her capture, resulting in 650 speculated bodies under Liz's name. Her sidekicks turned against her, her torture team aired her out in a heartbeat, and ultimately, Liz was given a life sentence in the confines of her own dungeon, where she would rot in the blood and the carcasses of her victims, just like she should. You little bitch. And I just want to elaborate real quick. I like little Liz, not big Liz. Big Liz scares the shit out of me, except, you know, when she's in her swimsuit outfit. Then that's kind of hot. But other than that, I feel like justice has been served. What are my final thoughts on her crimes? She's a maniac, maniac on the floor.